This week I had the pleasure of introducing myself to two new video games, the first of which was Spore. And I had a wonderful time experimenting with the creatures, and I'll give you a little look at my creature and its little offspring dancing around. I had an excellent time making the decisions about how the creature would be structured. It really did encourage me to take some risks. That really stands out in my mind as being part of what James Gee was talking about in his book about video games teaching us and learning. Mostly in his psychosocial moratorium theory, that principle basically talks about how we need to encourage students to take risks and how those risks get easier for students to take when real-world consequences are lowered. And I felt like in Spore that was exactly what was going on, that I could take a risk in my design. There was decision that needed to go into how I made the hands or the tail or what benefits I would get from my constructions, but I really felt like the risks were there, that positive and negative reinforcements were there, and it doesn't discourage students from venturing into that creative world of problem solving. It allows them to experiment, and I thought that's what was fun, as well as definitely pushing the learning experience for me. The second concept that I pulled on from the reading we did was out of Aldrich's book on simulations. His entire section where he talks about building team and building communication and how that becomes possible through real-world simulations. And I felt like Spore really encouraged that real-world simulation, not obviously with the aliens, but in the accomplishing of the tasks, the evolution. Those concepts for me really came out as encouraging team. So how will I the universe? Well, hopefully successfully. The second game that I had the pleasure of working with was QuestAtlantis. And QuestAtlantis reminds me so much of WebQuest that I've done in the past, but with a common element holding them all together. One land with common goals and with the positive reinforcements being offered to the students where they can build. I like the idea of the social aspects of it. There's my little avatar walking around. I like the idea of the science and the history and the language arts, all those things being able to be tied together. One of the articles that we read about the designing and social agendas that designs often carry pointed out, I thought, a very interesting concept that QuestAtlantis kind of showed an example to me of. The article talked about the need of moving from transitional learning and lesson design, the individual learning, to shared knowledge. And I thought that really applied to the whole idea of QuestAtlantis being able to learn more than just disciplinary content, and adding to that the learning of working together, the teamwork, the building for goals, the consequences for your decisions, both individually and team, but it adds that team element, which is such an important part of the education. Culture World is the teleporter that I'm going through, and I enjoyed the fact that the quests were broken down into these different sections. They gave you little maps to help you around. It's all very user-friendly, designed for up through 12-year-olds, but I definitely see my high school kids getting some benefit out of the program, and the quests could easily be adapted for older students. And the last thing I'd like to kind of comment on is that I really feel like QuestAtlantis allows teachers to stay active in the learning process, not just the teaching process. It allows for teachers to get involved in design and be the student, not just be the teacher. Thank you very much for listening.